ready. Hold tight. It's
Hold on to your hats, boys.
Libos. Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week.
A little bit old school.
With that deep into Danny Roll, please don't clip that.
Been truly horrific having this season away from home.
I want goals!
Anyone would think that we rehearse this, and I guarantee that we haven't.
How poor do we have to be before it's happening? How much blood from this stone do we have to get?
For Wednesday Week!
Hi and welcome to our preview show. Hello from the other side. Just hold on, Joe. If I don't do this, I'll get shot. You would not imagine the grief we get for doing that. But
yeah, well, it's Adele's different, mate. I'll give you that. Adele's different. I'm surprised you get away with it on YouTube. That's strict with the copyright stuff. To be fair,
yeah, we thought we'd get a good old Yorkshire lass doing the intro to it. So everyone, this is Ella from the other side, have you just heard, and I'm glad to be joined by. I tell you what, Joe from the Turfcast, another award-nominated podcast, like our good selves, mate. So, I'll not say good luck at the end of November.
Are you in the same one then? Is it the Football Content Awards? Are you in that one?
Yeah, we're only in one, mate. So don't brag. I know you're in a couple. But
I'm in two. I'm not going to brag, but I'm in two at that one, and I've just been nominated for the Northwest Football Awards. So, but obviously, I guess now I've thought about it, you guys obviously wouldn't have been on that one. So obviously, it was the Football Content Awards.
Yes, mate. Well, I'll tell you what, you can have the Northwest Awards and we'll take the football content. Is that right?
I'll take it, mate. I'll take it. Yeah, I'll take that.
How are we doing, mate? Obviously, we've got you on to talk about the upcoming match against Sheffield Wednesday against Burnley at the weekend. Yep. I tell you what, we're going to start. I know you probably won't want to go over it, but obviously disappointment from last season for Burnley. Premier League, big boys getting relegated. How was your summer? Was it... I know it's disappointment. I know it's silly, but was it inevitable? Did you think this season we're going back down?
I did after about 3 or 4 games when I'd seen us. Well, to be fair, that's a bit of a lie. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, and at the time I was still like, no, surely we could turn it around. But I think deep down I'd seen enough. Really, we were dreadful last season. You'll obviously be glad to know that we did beat Sheffield United twice, so that was a good thing. But that's probably the only joy I really had all season. We won 5 games last season, and that's just not. It's not enjoyable. It's not fun. That's not why we go to football. Like I've got a little boy who's 6, and just to quickly use him as an example, he was obviously 5 last season. So I just started taking him on the games last season, and I said to him one day, I'm like, "Oh, do you want to come on turf with me?" And he's like, No, I don't really fancy it. I'm like, why? Come on, it's what we do. It's football. We go on. I'll get you a season ticket next season. We'll go on every week. He's like, but we just lose every week. I don't want to keep watching this. And I was like, mate, you're breaking my heart. But he obviously didn't really take to it because of that. But this season, obviously, we've started better. He's been to a few games. He's been to some away games. He's going to be at Hillsborough on Saturday. So he's starting to get into it. But yeah, it were a slog, mate. I'm not going to lie. It were hard work last season. Like it gets to a point sometimes where you just. Obviously, you go on because that's what you do. Like I don't know, some football fans are different, but I'm one of them fans that even when I don't want to go on, I drag myself on because that's what you do. You go, you support the lads. You've got a season ticket. I've invested 450 quid in this season ticket, so I'm going to go. I think that'd be quite low for you guys in terms of price. To be fair, from what I saw in this summer. But it were hard work, mate. Like, I'm not going to lie. The worst season I've ever had as a Burnley fan in my life. And I started watching as I was 4 when we got promoted out of the 4th division. But I've sat through the Cottrell years, stuff like that. The Brian Law's year in the Premier League. I've seen some dross, but last year was right up there. Unfortunately, it was a slog. And when it finally got, the summer was over and done with, not even the relegation because we still had a few games left after that. But when the summer was finally over and done with, I was like, what a relief! I don't have to watch that anymore.
Yeah, with the summer came obviously a change of management. You lost your manager to the minnows of German football because obviously you get rewarded, don't you, for a bit of failure.
Yeah, for the worst season ever in recorded history for Burnley. Well, not ever, that's obviously an exaggeration, but what felt like the worst season ever in recorded history. He goes on to manage, in my opinion, and I got some stick for this earlier in the year, the 5th biggest club in Europe. And I got stick for it because apparently they should be higher. Bayern Munich fans were telling me they should be 2nd, but I was like, no, 5th, I'll have that one. But yeah, from Burnley to Bayern Munich, it's unheard of, isn't it? And, you know, Sean Dyche did what he did with us, and he's at Everton, and Vincent Kompany did what he did with us, and he's at Bayern Munich. So, yeah, work that one out.
Imagine that job placement swap. Dyche at Bayern Munich and
could you imagine? I honestly don't think any of them would do well at any of the other clubs, to be fair. They don't suit them.
So in comes Scott Parker. Obviously, he's Bournemouth ex-player. Obviously, he's been around the game a while. What were your initial thoughts on that? Was that the right appointment at the right time? Was it a bit of a look? We've got to rebuild, obviously, after being in the Premier League. What was your thoughts on that?
Honestly, initially I were underwhelmed. I didn't particularly want him. Some of the names being bandied about, and I'd proper fallen in love with Kompany in that year. We won the championship. Like, obviously, we won it the way we won it. We won it where we won it. So, you know, it were an absolute fantastic season. My favourite ever season. So just to contrast to what I've just said, we went from my favourite season to my worst ever season. So I properly did fall in love with Kompany. And even at the end of last season, a lot of fans had started turning on him. To be fair, I think the majority still backed him, but a lot of fans had started turning on him. And I was still flying the Kompany flag. I'm like, no, he's a new young manager. He will learn. He's the best person to get us back up. So I didn't want to lose him. So I was underwhelmed with Parker. And because I'd fallen in love with Kompany, I think I'd also fallen in love with the notion of a big ex-player coming in and cutting his teeth in management. So when Ruud van Nistelrooy was touted, I'm thinking, yes, happy days, get Ruud in. But obviously, he then wanted to be assistant at Manchester United, so that's where he is now. Could be potentially losing his job in a couple of weeks as well. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. We're underwhelmed, but it's one of them. Once he's come in, and again, I always say this, but I'm not sure if I've fallen for the media-trained Cockney charm of Scott Parker, where he comes in and he says all the right things, because they're all media-trained, aren't they, from like the age of 12. So they know what to say, when to say it. They know how to get people on board. So I don't know if I've just fallen for that hook, line and sinker. But since he's come in, he's said the right things. The last 3 performances haven't been great, and the results haven't really, been decent, to say the least, on the last 3. I'm sure we'll get into that. But overall, I'm quietly happy with him. I'm happy with the way it's gone so far. I would like to see more attacking intent. I'd like to see more shots on target, higher XG, if you like that sort of stat. The last 3 games have been a tough watch, if I'm going to be honest with you. But happy with it so far. Like you said, it's been 9 games. So I genuinely saw a Burnley fan say Parker out after the Preston draw, and I was like, mate, it's been 9 games. Come on, get a grip. But that's football fans for you these days, and that's the modern way, isn't it? So, for me, happy, and I'm happy to give him the season. Like, just unless we're like 18th, obviously, which we won't be. But I'm happy to give him the season and just see where we are in the summer. And fingers crossed, we have bounced back.
The obviously one of the upsides of being relegated is you get your transfer parachute payments. And I've just had a look on your the transfer market, so the outlay you've put out, and you've spent 30 million. Oh, obviously you could dispute these prices, but you spent 30 million on 2 players. You got Mike Trezor and Maxime Esteve, and Esteve is an interesting one because he's the one that I've seen quite a bit of fans praising him, and it seems like Burnley fans yourselves have quite took to him. How has been the summer spending? Are all these players that, because I've seen you've signed quite a few. Is there anyone out there that obviously really is the biscuit, and we've got to watch him as Sheffield Wednesday fans?
Esteve is the biscuit. He is the best defender in the league, mate. I'll die on that hill. He's fantastic. He interacts with fans on Instagram as well, and it's little things like that make fans fall in love with you. He puts pictures up of him playing in the kit. It sounds like so small, but and then I'll comment on it. Like, I actually took the mick a little bit today because he's French with a name like Esteve, and he put a picture of him in the French kit. So I commented on it, a picture of the French flag and a baguette. The emojis. Stuff like that. Like you just do stuff like that, and he sometimes interacts back. He chats to fans. Say, for example, if I respond to one of his stories on Instagram, he'll put like "cheers, mate" or something like that. But when you watch him, he's such a good defender, mate. He will be playing for a giant. He's going to go the same way as like your Wilson Odebear and what I think Luca Collier-Shaw will, and Zeki Amdouni, who's now at Benfica. He's going to be playing for one of them sort of clubs in a couple of years. Interesting as well. You said there we spent 30 million on a couple of players. I just want to caveat that with they were brought in last season, but they were brought in initially on loan with obligations or options. Well, I think they were both obligations, if I'm honest with you. So Trezor was brought in last summer on loan with an obligation to buy no matter what happened. Obviously, we got relegated. He didn't want to stay, but we had to trigger it. So now he's just... Long story short, he didn't come back to training. He eventually did. He's now back. And apparently he's looking really good in training. So genuinely, if Mike Trezor plays in the Championship and plays the way he can play and doesn't sulk like he did last season, then he could genuinely tear the league up. So we don't really know what's going to happen with Trezor. He was the Belgian Player of the Year. The Belgian Jupiler League, whatever it's called, the Pro League or whatever, Player of the Year 2 seasons ago when we signed him. But he came because of Vincent Kompany, and a lot of them players did last summer. They came because of Vincent Kompany. Then when he leaves, a lot of them leave as well. So people do look at that and say, bloody hell, you spent X amount of millions on all these players. 2 of them were obligations from last season, and all these players wanted out. So Muric, the goalkeeper, wanted out. Dara O'Shea, the goalkeeper, wanted out. Zeki Amdouni wanted out. Wout Weghorst wanted out. Odebear wanted out. So we have to sign players to obviously fill the gaps, because if not, we're left without a squad. And it's heartbreaking, because you fall in love with these players, and then all of a sudden, Kompany leaves, and they're like, right, see ya, Burnley meant nothing to me. That Zeki Amdouni would have been an absolute asset in the Championship. If he'd have found his feet in the Premier League last season, he kept getting niggles and stuff, and I think he'd have been decent there. And like I said, now he's scoring goals for Benfica in the Champions League and things like that. So yeah, it looks bad on transfer market, but obviously they don't have the asterisk next to it saying this is because of this. So yes, we've spent a lot of money, but some of it was obligations from the season prior, and a lot of it was just filling gaps because everybody just jumped ship as soon as possible.
We had that this season. Obviously, we extended Danny Rule's contract, and I think there were a couple of players that were here last season. Deschamps Bernard, probably one of our outstanding defenders. He was only signed on a 1-year contract. We think that waited for Danny Rule to sign, and he re-signed. Barry Bannon re-signed a contract. So we had the same sort of thing. And I think personally, looking at things like that the manager, it seems like the manager's got more sway. Especially for a team like us, we spent $2.5 million on Ike Ugbo, bringing him back, which another one obviously probably came back because Danny Rule was still here. The pull of managers, and you've just said like that, obviously Vincent Kompany. I would imagine, no disrespect to Burnley, I know you've been in the Premier League a fair few times, but would players come to Burnley just because it's Burnley, or Vincent Kompany, ex-Man City, stalwart? I did quite well at Anderlecht as well for what he was doing. It's a big pull for players.
Yeah, and obviously that, we understood that at the time as well, because we used to joke about a Sean Dyche omelette, because when we signed Joey Barton, who is now unfortunately a bit of a git on Twitter, but I loved him when he was here. When we signed him, Sean Dyche said, I invited him round to the house and I cooked him an omelette, and then we had a chat, and they ended up signing for us. And then Vincent Kompany said, I rang him personally. And then that's when he decided to sign for Burnley. So we used to joke last year about what's got the bigger pulling power, a Sean Dyche omelette or a Vincent Kompany call. Obviously, it's a Kompany call. But I'm not sure what Parker could do to entice. Maybe offer him a new cardigan. I don't know. But
I was just thinking that as soon as you said that £1,200 cardigan or whatever it was.
Yeah, that bomber jacket. I got a bit of stick for that. I went on a Betfred sort of like podcast not long after Parker, before the Blackburn game, actually. Apologies for swearing. But I said that bomber jacket, that £1,200 bomber jacket, is cost more than the average house price in Burnley. And some Burnley fan would give me grief saying, you can't say that, come off it, mate, it's a joke. But yeah, we understood that at the time about Kompany, to be fair. And yeah, unfortunately, it's kind of one of them things, isn't it? You just don't expect them all to be like, right, well, Kompany's left, so 8 players now just suddenly want to leave. Like, I like my boss at work. If my boss says I'm going to a rival company, I'm not then just quitting instantly. I just didn't expect them all to jump up or jump ship straight away. But it is what it is, and we are where we are now.
That's it, yeah. Obviously, doing a little bit of research for this podcast, it's unheard of. I'm not one for researching and doing a bit of homework and stuff. I have enough at work, mate, I tell you. Looking at the history between the two clubs. So the last time Sheffield Wednesday actually beat Burnley was in the League Cup. So 2014, 26th of August, a 1-0 win. The last time in the league, we'd have to go back to 2009. So I know we haven't played that many times, 10 times guys in the last 16 years. History, I mean, you can't take a lot from history, can you? I mean, it's totally different.
I genuinely never look at it. That some people, like, I work, I'm self-employed, but some of the work that I do is for quite a big bookmaker in this country. And sometimes when I'm doing some of their output and stuff on the when you walk into a bookies, a TV screen sort of thing, a lot of the pundits on there will say, oh, if you look at the history, Burnley have the better of this, and that's why I'm going to back Burnley in this game. It doesn't matter what happened in 2014. You know what I mean? It's a completely different set of players on both sides. Sometimes, historically, somebody can be a bogey side. I get that, but it's just all coincidental, if you ask me. But just going back to some of the games you mentioned there, I have no memory whatsoever of that 2014 League Cup game, if I'm going to be honest with you. It was probably a typical Sean Dyche, doesn't give a crap about the League Cup, didn't give a crap about the FA Cup. We lost to so many sort of like lower league sides in the Sean Dyche era. We lost to Accrington Stanley in the League Cup once. We lost to Port Vale, Burton Albion. We famously lost to Lincoln City when we were in the Premier League and they're in the conference in the FA Cup 5th round, nonetheless. So we could have had a decent chance of actually getting to Wembley. Sean Dyche, no, not interested. But going back to that 2009 one, I remember it well. Opening day of the season, we were 2-0 down after about 9 minutes. I was actually there at Hillsborough. Disgusting game, disgusting start to the season. Funnily enough, we played you on the opening day, and I think we played Ipswich after that, lost 3-0 at home, and then I think we played Crystal Palace away after that and drew 0-0, even though they had 9 men for the majority of the second half. So it was a horrendous start to the season, but thankfully after that start to the season, we changed things up a little bit, changed the formation, and then that's when we first got promoted to the Premier League, beating Sheffield United, of course, in the playoff final.
Yeah, great result that was for everyone.
It was as well. They should have had a penalty, but who cares?
That's it. Long in the history that. So let's bring it up up to date. Last time out, 0-0 against Preston. Sorry, apologies. Yeah. And you sit 3rd in the league currently. Are you happy with that at the minute?
I'll take where we are. Like we're where we want to be. Sunderland have had a good start, but I think they'll fade. Unfortunately for you guys, there's another team from Sheffield who've started quite well, and I'm not sure they will fade as well. You've got Watford knocking on the door. I think they're 6th or 7th. They'll fade. Leeds will be there or thereabouts. So I think the table is settling into what it's going to be come the end of the season. So I'll take where we are. Unfortunately, the last 3 games of, like you said, we drew 0-0 last time out against Preston. Before that, we beat Plymouth 1-0 at home, and before that, we drew with Oxford 0-0. All 3 of them sides, and I'm not criticising them, I'm just saying what they've done, but all 3 of them sides just put 2 banks of 4 in front of their box and said, you break us down. And we struggled. Like, we wouldn't have won that game against Plymouth, but we got a penalty. A little bit dubious, but probably a penalty if you ask me. And I'm not one of them that'll just sit with claret tinted glasses on and say definite penalty because But I think it was a penalty. I can't remember what the player was, but it was blatantly obstructed. But we wouldn't have scored in that game, mate, if it weren't for that penalty. We have looked a little bit toothless up front, and I think teams have started to notice that if you sit back, the chances are you'll get a point. And all 3 of them sides had chances where they counter-attacked, and if they had some decent players, could have put the ball in the back of the net. So it's been a good but frustrating start, if that makes sense. And it's interesting as well, because obviously the first two games are absolutely flew out the blocks, beat Luton 4-1. All right, they've ended up being pretty terrible this season, but it's such a massive statement on the opening day of the season to go to a fellow relegated team and absolutely spank them. And then, all right, Cardiff are probably the worst team in the division I think we've seen on the opening 9-10 games, and we beat them 5-0. After that, that's when we sold everybody. So since then, we've had like a 7 games with all these new players, trying to learn this new system, trying to learn each other. So it's been difficult. And I'm hoping that as the team plays together more, they gel more, and we can, break teams down a little bit easier. But it's a stat that I always like to use this. We started slowly in the Vincent Kompany season when we won the league, the fastest it's ever been won.
Convincingly.
Yeah, honestly, we were promoted earlier than any team has ever been promoted since the rebrand. We didn't get the record points in the end, but we won the league at Ewood Park, so who cares? But at this stage of the season now, we have more points on the board now than what we did after 9 games last time. And we started slowly last time. We drew at home to Luton. We drew at home to Stoke. We drew at home to Blackpool. We had a slow start. So it's similar to that, but you kind of could see the attacking intent last time. Whereas this time, you're struggling to see where the goals come from. Like last time, we had Nathan Teller, Jay Rodriguez. All right, he's still there now, but he was 2 years younger. Ashley Barnes. So, we had people who could put the ball in the back of the net. I'm looking at this team now. Lal Foster's injured. Zion Fleming's not settled into the side yet. Hunt Andre, who's a new player, doesn't look great. Scored a couple of goals for Benign this week, but me and you could probably score for Benign. So it's interesting. Yes, we are ahead of where we were, but it's frustrating, and we're just struggling to score goals, struggling to break teams down.
Yeah, you mentioned Lyle there. I was going to get onto it. Obviously, we've had international break, and for us, we've got the battle of the under-21 keepers. We got James Beadle, you got James Trafford, a couple of quid that he's cost you as well, so he wasn't a cheap purchase. We've loaned ours, we can't afford it, but under 21, James Beadle got the nod the other night. He's a great keeper for us. He's got a big future, and I know you've laid out a bit of money on Trafford as well. So I know you said the attacking intent of Burnley, but I'm quite interested to see the goalkeepers, especially like you say, you're third. You've got the firepower. You're missing, obviously. You said an injury was it international injury that Lyle? Yeah,
he got injured out playing for South Africa.
South Africa, right. So he's going to be missing. I've seen that release today. I think yourselves tweeted it out earlier. Yeah. What's your take on Trafford? Are you been happy with him? I know it's easy to say like you're third and he's been a great keeper, but what's your thoughts on James Trafford?
Interestingly, I'm blocked by James Trafford on Instagram. I'm not really sure why. When I say I am, the Turfcast pages. Last season, I was quite critical of Trafford, but last season, he was out of his league. He was not a Premier League goalkeeper. Why we did so well with Arianet Muric in the Championship and then spent 20 million quid, that's with certain clauses that won't be met, but still spent a lot of money on James Trafford and then just dropped Muric. And then funnily enough, Trafford came in. He didn't start the season very well. He was poor on crosses. He wasn't strong enough. He was slow at getting down for some things as well. He wasn't great with his feet, which was and still is a massive part of how we play. Like the goalkeeper needs to be good with the feet and pick out a decent pass. Like so many times in the Championship, all right, we didn't have this outlet in the Premier League last season, but Nathan Teller would make a run. Muric should ping the ball 50, 60, 70 yards straight onto Teller's foot in the run. Trafford couldn't do that. And it was just so frustrating to see Muric on the bench when Trafford was making mistake after mistake every single week. But I did caveat it. Every time I criticised him, I did caveat it by saying, I do think he will be a very good goalkeeper. He's got a lot of potential. I think he's probably going to be England's #1 goalkeeper in 3, 4, 5 years and go on to have a very successful career. He's just not there yet. And I stood by that. And shock horror, when Trafford was eventually dropped, Muric came in and the results picked up. Ultimately not enough to see us survive. Whether we'd have survived if we played Muric from the start of the season, I'm not sure. Probably not, because we had issues all over the pitch, to be fair. But we'd have put up more of a fight and we wouldn't have been down as early as we were down, or it'd be embarrassing as much as we were. But we dropped into the Championship and this is his level. This is where he's at now. Yes, he will be a Premier League goalkeeper, as I've said. But he's a championship goalkeeper now, and he's looked good. He essentially won us the game against Leeds because I've just criticised teams for sitting back, but that's what we did against Leeds. We went there with a game plan, just sat back and said, you can't break teams down, and we're just going to counter-attack you. We got the goal in the first half, sat back, and Trafford made a lot of decent saves. This is his level, and he's looked very good this season. He's kept more clean sheets this season already than he did last season. I think we might have kept one clean sheet all season last season, actually, off the top of my head, which, again, caveats what I was saying earlier about how awful the season was. But this is. I do like him. Like I say things as I see them. I think that's the point of having a podcast. If you're going to have a podcast and just sit and blow smoke up everyone's arse, what's the point? If people aren't playing good enough, you have to say that they're not playing good enough. And that's what I did. Like, I never went on Trafford's Instagram and said, mate, you're effing rubbish. Get out of my club. That's not me. I don't think I ever commented on his things once. I think he's obviously seen the YouTube page, gone, F this guy, I'm blocking him on everything. But I think he's a good goalkeeper. You'll see how good he is on Saturday. Hopefully, watch him now make a horror show. But this is definitely his level now. This is definitely his level now. He will go on to be a Premier League goalkeeper, potentially even play for Man City again, because there's some rumours that there's something to do with the buyback in there. But he's a good goalkeeper, and I think this is his level. And I do think he will be England's number one for quite some time.
And us as Wednesday fans feel the same about James Beadle as well. We've got him on loan from Brighton, and we're the same. He's found his level on loan for us last season for 6 months, and then he's come back. But we're the same. We reckon his distribution with his feet is a hell of a lot better than last season. He's worked on that. He's commanding the area a lot more, and we're the same. We see him as a future England. Obviously, he's not one of ours at the minute. Love him to sign, but he'd cost a pretty penny from Brighton. So it's great to be here while we've got him, and we'll make the best use of him. So that's it. Sheffield Wednesday, Joe. What's your thoughts on Sheffield Wednesday? Obviously, when I do these things, I speak to other podcasters, fans of other clubs, and yes, our manager has been in the media quite a bit, and for right reasons. He did a cracking job last season, and he looked well when he was reporting on the Euros as well on the TV. So Sheffield Wednesday, in your eyes, you said you're coming up to Hillsborough on Saturday. What are you looking forward to seeing, or who? Oh, no, I know the answer is none, because you want them all to have a stinker. But
I'm looking forward to seeing Luca Cogliosho, mate. That's who I'm looking forward to seeing. But no, I like Sheffield Wednesday. I like both Sheffield clubs. I think it's a good footballing city. It's what I love about the sort of like clubs like Sheffield Wednesday and stuff is how traditional it is. Like, you've still got the old school football ground. I love these old school football grounds, and I know Hillsborough's had its issues, and obviously the away end itself has had its issues. And it could probably do with a bit of a facelift, to be fair, from some of the stuff I've seen from other fans this season. But I seem to remember Newcastle fans saying a similar thing about Turf Moor, and it was just a load of bollocks. So I'll judge myself when I get there on Saturday. Had that with Newcastle fans, so we've had that. But obviously, I've been there before, and I like it. It's a good traditional ground. I like good traditional clubs, and I feel like Sheffield Wednesday are a good traditional club. Obviously, a big club, but so it should be in such a big city. So I'm looking forward to seeing a good traditional club again, and hopefully a decent battle. Like, I'm interested to see how Danny Rowell sets things up. Obviously, like you said, you mentioned him already, but it seems like he's got a good future ahead of him in management. So I'm going to be interested to see how he sets up against us, and how he sets your players up, and the subs that he makes. See if he's pragmatic and things like that, and how he tries to affect games, or if he just goes hiding. So probably just much more interested to see sort of like the city and Hillsborough itself, if I'm honest with you. Yeah, he has been, or some fans have been critical of his substitutions, but against Coventry away the other week, he made the right substitutions at the right time. It always is when you come out winning the last minute goal to win 2-1. The substitutions always look great, don't they? It's fantastic when you do win last minute. Yeah, and, we got 7 points out of the last 9, so it's a great run from what's been a sticky, great start, but then a sticky 3 or 4 games after. So, Joe, obviously you said you're going to make the trip to Hillsborough. I'm gonna trouble you for a bit of a score prediction. What I usually do is ask the guest how he thinks the game will turn out. So, first half, second half, how you think it's going to go. To be honest, I've not seen much of Sheffield Wednesday this season. I did watch you against Plymouth. I think it was on the telly, was it? Or
It was first game.
yeah. I think I seem to remember watching that one, and I remember thinking these are good. But obviously, since then you like you said, you've had a bit of a slower start, bounced back a little bit recently. Obviously, beating West Brom, I think it was.
West Brom home,
yeah. So you've done relatively well, but what my point is, I don't know how you're going to play. I don't know how you're going to set up. It's gonna. Hopefully, you're not going to be one of these sides that just sits back. I always find it. All right, Preston and Plymouth, you kind of understand it because they came to Turf Moor, and the onus is on us as the home team to sort of like take the game to them. But when we went to the Kassam and Oxford just sat back, I know Oxford are a very small club who just want to stay in the Championship. That's fair enough. But you've got to play some football at some point, please, lads. Like Oxford just refused to. Like they were the home side. It was so bizarre. I'd never been in that position as a Burnley fan before, watching my team as the away side trying to take the game to the home team, and the home team just saying, "Nope, we ain't moving." So it's going to be interesting to see how you set up. I think if you do that, the game will be quite tedious because we will probably not be able to break you down. Hopefully, there's an early goal in it for us, just for in terms of entertainment purposes more than anything. Because if we get an early goal, you have to then open up, and then it could end up being 3-2, 4-3, whatever. If you get an early goal and just shut up shop, then we've got absolutely no chance. I'm hoping that the fact that the lads have been or the majority of the lads have been together for the international break has meant that they've learnt more about the systems, they've learnt more about each other, and then we can break teams down who just sit back. But it's going to be interesting. Obviously, there was quite a lot of goals in the West Brom game, so even though I've not watched Wednesday a lot, that tells me that maybe you did take the game to them. So I think if you open up, it might be a decent game, but I'm suspecting it might not be. I'm going to back Burnley because it's Burnley, so I'm going to go for 1-0 to the Clarets, but I won't be surprised if it's 0-0 or 1-0 to yourselves if you are just going to sit back, because that's the way our games have been going so far.
It's not something I can throw at Danny Rolfe just sitting back. Not seen it that many times, to be honest. And against Burnley, it was, even though we beat Wayne Rooney's Plymouth 4-0, the first half against West Brom 2-0 up was probably the best football we've played this season. It was fantastic at home. Yes, they came back into it, but then the mental strength from the lads to get a last minute, 86-minute winner, really did at home. We are really different. I know it's cliche, but we are a different team at home, and it's a I don't know what's the word I was trying to say. It's credit to the fans as well. That's what I was going to say. Credit to the fans at home. We've had all sorts of crap in the last few years. We know this, and they turn out. So I think there'll be a good crowd. I'm going to back Wednesday as well. I'm going to go 1-0 at Wednesday. So unfortunately, sorry, Joe. I hope you go home disappointed, but you never know. It's football, so anything could happen. Joe, thank you very much for joining us. If you just want to just give a plug out to your podcast, mate, and so anyone watching can tune in.
Yeah, so it's just Turfcast. Obviously, very inventive name there. The first half of Turf Moor, the second half of podcast. Stick them together, Turfcast. So yeah, we're on all platforms. We do a lot of stuff on YouTube first, podcast sort of thing second. But if you want to listen to us on a podcast, you can just search for us on all your platform providers. But yeah, we've just hit 40k on Facebook, so buzzing with that. Just a few away from 15k on Twitter. So I'm not doing too bad for a page of a so-called Tin Pot Football Club, as some people do like to call us, especially in the Premier League, because they've all got not delusions of grandeur, but ideas of grandeur about their own football clubs. But yeah, just give us a search on there, and don't forget to I'm going to say don't forget to vote for us at the Football Content Awards, and make sure you don't vote for Wednesday week. But I thought that'd be a bit harsh, and I think voting's closed anyway. To be honest with you, yeah. I don't think you can vote at the North West Football Awards either. I think it's fully judge based. But hopefully, we both, because I think I'm in two categories there, so you can win the one that you're in. I'll win the one that I'm in away from you, but. I think we're up against some big competition, the likes of, off the top of my head, what's that big one called? We're all ex-players, Under the Cosh. I'm up against them, so I've probably got no chance, to be fair. But yeah, if you do want to check it out, obviously there'll be a lot of post-Wednesday content on Saturday and Sunday. So yeah, you can check it out on there. We'll be doing fan reactions that evening, a live show the day after, and I tend to do a 60-second review. So if any Wednesday fans want to see me crying, if you do beat us, then feel free to head over and laugh at me, because that'll push the views up. So that's all I'm bothered about.
You don't do the game vlogs, do you? You know, the videos from inside the ground.
No, you know what? I dabbled in it, but I'm one of them. I just want to watch the match. I don't want to fanny about with a phone in my hand.
I think one of the greatest things that I do is on a Sunday time is look through the oppositions, especially like the West Brom. You know, where it's the last winner. And there's like, there are a few Burnley lads that do it, so you'll find them. I dabbled in it, and I want to concentrate on the match. I don't want to think to myself, I need to get this. Yeah. I've recently been thinking about getting, you know, them. I look stupid though, but you know they have them Ray-Ban glasses now that have a camera in them. So I remember thinking like, I could buy some of them one day, but they're all sunglasses. So if I rock up to Sheffield, you know, in October, you know, it's 4 degrees outside, and I'm there with sunglasses on. I look stupid, so I decided against that as well. So no, you won't find any of them from me, but there are some Burnley fans that do it. Right, fantastic, Joe. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for watching, listening. This has been Hello from the Other Side, Burnley edition. We'll see you all on Saturday, and thank you very much.
Every week, live from 8 p.m. It's the Wednesday week. Bringing you football analysis.
He came in. I think he scored a goal.
Bringing you banter.
Yeah.
Bringing you responsible life hacks.
Met you wonderful souls at 10 a.m. for some shots.
The Wednesday week. 1, 2, 3, 4 live. Available on all social medias.
Obviously, this goes out on YouTube and as well as all the other social media out there, podcasts, etc.
The Wednesday week 24-25 season. Join us.
Put on your podcast.